Hi everyone, good day. Welcome in our topic, different types of photography and its particular applications. Here are our lesson objectives. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to identify the different types of photography and its particular applications in a certain circumstances. And also, you must be able to distinguish the types of photography applied to criminal investigation and other law enforcement activities. Photomacrography is sometimes referred to as macro photography. In this type of photography, the photographer uses a macro lens. And this allows now the photographer to photograph small objects such as insects, such as any small objects that is found in the crime scene at a close range using a macro lens. So it produces an enlarged image of a certain subject, your subject or the image being recorded. So as you can see in the slideshow, that is a photograph using a macro lens of an insect. So kung makikita ninyo, normally, with the means of our eye, hindi natin makikita yung mga particles na yan and yung mga details on the insect. Pero with the means of macro lens, it magnifies, it enlarge, okay? It enlarge the object. So the magnification again of photomacrography is 2 times to 9 times. Okay, so it is 2 times to 9 times bigger than the original size. While photomicrography is a type of photography which photograph is specifically minute objects, yung very small objects. Okay, so in here, this is magnified by means of a microscope. Kung kanina sa macro photography, the equipment used is a macro lens. Dito naman sa photomicrography, in order to photograph a minute object, it uses microscope. And it has 10 times and up magnification. So, mas mataas ang magnification ng photomicrography ng microscope as compared to microlens. In the field of forensic photography or in the field of police photography, photomicrography is employed when there are biological evidences that are found on the crime scene. Another type of photography which is commonly used in police work or particularly in criminal investigation is infrared photography. Infrared photography employs a technique in photographing unseen objects. Okay, what are those unseen objects? It could either be an overwritten letters, it could either be or overwritten text, it could either be a charred or burnt materials. So with the use of an infrared light. And infrared light, as we have mentioned, is one of those invisible light. This is considered as an invisible light because it has longer wavelength as compared to those lights within the visible spectrum. Aside from that, this infrared photography is useful if the subject is dark, okay? Dark colored or it is located in a dark environment. For example, we have here a sample photo on the screen. There is erased text, okay, makikita ninyo with the use of infrared photography on the right side na tinakpan ng blue ball pen yung nakasulat na 4:30 p.m. So with the use of an infrared, naging visible pa rin yung tinakpan na nakasulat doon. So again, infrared photography is very useful if the subject is dark and it is located on a dark environment. This is usually employed in question document examination, in documenting or in photographing, recording those um, falsified documents. Just like infrared photography, ultraviolet photography is used to photograph unseen objects also. Or this is objects that are not immediately visible to our eyes. This employs the use of ultraviolet lights or ultraviolet filters. Okay? So in here, in the ultraviolet photography, since it uses ultraviolet light or otherwise known as black light, it is also within the invisible spectrum and it is categorized as invisible light. This type of photography is very useful in examining again overwritten letters just like in your infrared photographies or words, and marked money, yung mga counterfeited money, in order for us to know if fake ba or genuine yung pera. Kaya nga kung ma-observe nyo pagpapasok kayo sa mga business establishments, meron silang mga UV light to verify kung yung pera mo totoo o baka naman counterfeited yan. So this is also useful if the subject to be photographed is bright colored and in a very bright environment also. So kung maliwanag and you want to photograph unseen objects, gumamit ka ng ultraviolet light or ultraviolet filters. If you want to photograph unseen objects and your subject is dark and it is located in a dark environment, ang suitable na type of photography na gagamitin mo as photographer is infrared photography. Another is microphotography. Here, I would like to emphasize this one. Microphotography is different from photomicrography. Okay? Kung sa photomicrography, it is also the same with macrophotography. Kapag naman sinabi nating microphotography and photomicrography, magkaibang type of photography po yan. Pag sinabi nating microphotography, this is with the use of a microfield. When we say photomicrography, this is a type of photography which uses a microscope and has a magnification of 10 times and up. In a microphotography, yes, it is used in photographing small objects but with the means of a microfield. Another type of photography is the X-ray photography, and X-ray is one of the visible rays within the electromagnetic spectrum. So in the X-ray photography, this is a type of photography that records internal structure of the body. So this technique employs photographing through non-metallic structure. It could pass through the body tissues on the muscles of a person, and this is usually used common sa mga hospitals. But in the fields of police work, law enforcement work, X-ray photography is employed in excavation. Okay, they will first photograph it or using an X-ray before opening it, in order to know ano ba yung initial laman ng, for example, ng tomb na yan. Yan. So that is X-ray photography, and X-ray was discovered by Wilhelm Röntgen. So next is the astrophotography. From the word astro, it entails recording images astronomical objects such as stars, ayan, the moon, okay, and large areas of the night sky. Sa mga selenophile yan, astrophotography, under yan ng astrophotography. Another type of photography is the flash photography. Okay? In the flash photography, this is very simple. It is the use of flash in photographing objects in order to illuminate that particular subject to be photographed. Maybe the situation is there is a lack of lighting. Okay, it is under an adverse lighting condition. Kaya ini-employ itong flash photography. Another is mugshot photography. Mugshot photography is usually used in identifying suspect. Yan. Mugshot photography is particularly used for personal identification. And identification, as we have said, is the very first use of photography in police work. This is first discovered or advocated by Alphonse Bertillon. In term of photography, dito ginagamitan ng laser beam radiation. And also, in order to record the heat from the word thermo, diba? In order to record the heat, there must be a laser beam film, a sensitized material sensitive to that kind of radiation, a laser beam radiation. So this is, as you can see in your screen, that is an example of a thermophotograph. Okay, kung mapapansin nyo, may yellow na part, may red na part. Yung red na part, doon yung nare-record yung heat. So, meaning nakakoncentrate yung heat sa part of the body na iyan. Thermophotography is usually employed in airport inspection, ayan, in order to determine if may mga contraband bang dala yung traveler, yung magta-travel. Another is the aerial photography. This is usually applied for photo mapping. Okay? This is also being employed for reconnaissance purposes or surveillance purposes of a particular location or of a particular area. So in aerial photography, the users might use a drone already ngayon kasi available lang drone. And before, photographers will still ride a helicopter in order to obtain an aerial photograph of an area. Another is underwater photography. It is the act of photographing things underwater, mga marine life. This is usually employed in investigating with regards to the destruction of marine life. Ayan. So, wildlife forensic, pwede rin i-apply yan. That is the use of photography, underwater photography. Another is the night photography. Night photography is a technique that is used to capture images at night. For example, okay, when the crime scene investigation team responded on the scene itself, it is midnight. So it is under an adverse lighting condition. So kakailanganin yan ng different techniques. Okay? So since light during that particular condition is insufficient, kakailanganin mo ng different techniques like adjusting the shutter speed. Okay? So, syempre, dapat mas matagal yung shutter speed, mas mataas yung ISO sensitivity or the International Standard Organization or the film's sensitivity. Ito yung ginagamit in the low light photography and the painting with light. Another is the panoramic photography. Panoramic photography is otherwise known as the wide format photography. It captures images in an elongated fields of view, just like this one. So panoramic photography is also used in crime scene investigation in photographing the general or the overall view of the scene bago ka pa pumasok doon sa crime scene itself. If it is an indoor crime scene, you should show the adjoining buildings, okay, of the crime scene. So if you have any questions, clarifications, feel free to put it in the comment section